Chicago to Milwaukee may sound like a downgrade. It's a smaller city, less going on, a consolation prize, if you will. But I've helped people make this exact move, and not one of them has called me asking to go back. If you're in Chicago right now and you're at least thinking about Milwaukee, this video is for you. Maybe you're tired of what you're paying in rent. Maybe you want more space. Maybe you just did the math and you realize you're spending a ridiculous amount of money to live somewhere that isn't giving you much back. Whatever got you here, I'm gonna walk you through everything you actually need to know before you make this move. We're talking about the cost difference, what Milwaukee's actually like, where you should live depending on your situation, what the market looks like right now, and the honest trade-offs that nobody talks about. Let's get into it. Let's start with the number one reason people make this move. Money. In Chicago, the median home price is sitting somewhere north of $350,000. And that's in the city. The second you start looking in good school districts like Naperville, Elmhurst, Wilmette, you're pushing 5, 6, 700K easy. And that's before you factor in Illinois property taxes, which are among the highest in the country. Now let's talk about Milwaukee. In Milwaukee County, you can find solid move-in ready homes in the 250 to 350K range. In Waukesha County, which is where a lot of buyers end up, 400 to 500K gets you a 4-bedroom house with a yard in a great school district in a suburb that doesn't feel like a compromise. And Wisconsin's property taxes, still not cheap, but compared to Illinois, it's a meaningful difference. Here's the part that really hits people. I've worked with buyers who sold a condo in Chicago, 1 bedroom, 900 square feet, no parking, and took that same equity into Milwaukee and bought a 4-bedroom house with a 2-car garage and a backyard. That's the same money with a completely different life. That's not an exaggeration, that's just the math. Now let's talk about the part people get wrong. Most people from Chicago picture Milwaukee and they think smaller Chicago, less polished, kind of boring, maybe a place you go for a Brewers game and then drive home. That's not what Milwaukee is. Milwaukee has legitimate lakefront. Lake Michigan runs right along the east side of the city and it's beautiful. We're talking beaches, walking paths, parks. All of it is free and accessible. Chicago has this too, obviously, but in Milwaukee, you're not competing with 3 million people to enjoy it. The food scene here is real. The bar scene is real. 3rd Ward, Bayview, the East Side. These are actual neighborhoods with character, locally owned restaurants and coffee shops. It's got the walkability. It's not trying to be Chicago because it has its own identity. You've got the Bucks, you've got the Brewers, concert venues, festivals. Summerfest alone runs for 11 days every summer right on the lakefront. The thing people always say after they've been here for 6 months is, I didn't realize how much was actually here. And that's exactly what I mean when I say Milwaukee is underrated. It's not a consolation prize, it's just quieter about it. Now this is the question I get asked more than anything when someone is relocating from Chicago. Do I live in Milwaukee City or do I go to the suburbs? The honest answer is it depends on your lifestyle. But let me give you a framework that actually helps. If you want walkability, personality, and that urban feel, look at the East Side, Bayview, or Walker's Point. These are some of Milwaukee's most neighborhoody neighborhoods. You can walk to things, there's energy, homes are older, they have character, and prices are generally lower than comparable areas in Chicago. Now, if you have kids or you're planning on it, and school districts matter, you're looking at Wauwatosa, Brookfield, Pewaukee, New Berlin, and Waukesha. Good schools, larger homes, more space, and quieter streets. This is where a lot of Chicago transplants land, and they end up loving it. If you want the most square footage for your money and you don't mind being a little further out, look at Franklin, Oak Creek, Muskego. These are suburbs that most people haven't heard of, but buyers who find them tend to stay there. I think the main thing I tell anyone coming from Chicago is don't assume the suburbs are boring just because they're suburbs. Waukesha County has restaurants, breweries, trails, lakes. It's full of life out here. I also have to address this because it comes up every single time. If you're moving to Milwaukee but you're keeping a job in Chicago, What does that actually look like? Driving to Chicago from Milwaukee is roughly 90 minutes without traffic. With traffic, you know how that goes. And if you're commuting 5 days a week, that's a grind. I won't sugarcoat it. The metro runs from Chicago up to Kenosha, and then from Kenosha, you drive or find a way into Milwaukee. It's doable, but it's not seamless. What I see most often with relocation buyers is one of two things. Either they've already shifted to remote or hybrid, and Milwaukee makes complete sense for them, or they're making the move because they found a job in Milwaukee and they're done with Chicago entirely. Both scenarios work great, but the pure Chicago commute every day is the harder math. Just be honest with yourself about that before you commit. Let me set expectations here because this matters. Milwaukee is not a slow market. It hasn't been for several years. In Waukesha County especially, well-priced homes in good condition move fast. We're talking multiple offers, decisions made in a weekend. So if you're coming from Chicago, you're probably familiar with this, but don't assume that because you're leaving a big market, you're walking into something slow and relaxed. What that means for you practically, you need to be pre-approved before you start looking. Not just thinking about it, but actually approved with letter in hand. In this market, showing up without that is showing up unprepared. You need to know your number, not a range, a real ceiling, because when you're deciding in 48 hours, you don't have time to figure it out. And you need an agent who knows the market, specifically the area that you're targeting. Someone who can tell you whether a home is priced right, whether it's worth going over for, and how to write an offer that actually wins. This is where working with a local expert matters more than anything else. I've seen buyers come from out of state, rely on national apps and online estimates, and they either overpay or they keep missing out repeatedly. Having someone in your corner changes everything. I'm not going to sell you on Milwaukee without being straight with you. The energy is different. Milwaukee moves slower than Chicago, and that's a good thing for a lot of people. It's literally why they leave. But if you thrive on the pace of a big city, that adjustment is real. The airport is smaller. O'Hare is O'Hare. Mitchell International is convenient, the parking is easier, and it handles most of what you need. But if you travel frequently for work, you'll probably still find yourself going back to Chicago for certain routes. The food and nightlife variety is a little more limited. Milwaukee has some great spots, but Chicago has Chicago. If you're a person who needs 400 restaurant options within a mile, you will notice the difference. But here's what people gain that they don't expect. Space, actual space, a yard, a garage, a neighborhood where you know people, lower stress around money. When your mortgage is $400 less than your old rent was, that feeling compounds and people notice it immediately. And something harder to put a number on, a sense that the city isn't working against you. Milwaukee isn't trying to price you out. There's room here, and people who come from Chicago tend to feel that pretty quickly. If you're seriously considering this move, I want to help you do it right. I work with buyers relocating from out of state, including Chicago, and I cover Milwaukee County and Waukesha County. I know these neighborhoods, I know the market, and I'll give you straight answers on every question you have, not a sales pitch. My link is in the description. Reach out anytime. And if you're trying to figure out where in Milwaukee you'd actually want to live, I put together a video breaking down the top suburbs by lifestyle, price point, and what kind of buyer they're right for. Watch that next. It'll help you narrow it down fast. As always, thank you so much for watching. And remember, whatever move you make next, make sure it's a smart one. See you next week.